Kia ora, good morning. Welcome to the Eye in the Sky Show podcast. So, today I want to talk about the Skinwalker Ranch, the famous case of the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, and give my opinion on what I think it is. Um, you know, on this podcast, I want to talk about all forms of paranormal and supernatural activity, unsolved murders, unsolved mysteries, urban myths and legends, mythologies, theology, all that sort of stuff. The whole gamut of faiths and sciences and anything to do with the unexplained and occult-based, paranormal-based, supernatural-based, that sort of thing. Now, this is quite a famous case. I've spent a couple of years looking at it, especially, with quantum magnetics when I started working on the understanding of the creation frequency, or, I call it the atomic frequency now. Physicists call it the God frequency, in correlation with the Schumann resonance, because I always say that the paranormal is based around the Schumann resonance, and the atomic frequency or God frequency is the frequency for the supernatural. When you're around or experience the atomic or God frequency, you experience the supernatural. When you're affected by the Schumann resonance, you're affected by the paranormal, because the paranormal is the spectrum of the psychological mind that deals with everything that is of, a descending soul or an unascended soul. Someone on a downward spiral to things like addictions, psychological issues, mental health disorders, suicidal tendencies, death, destruction, that sort of thing. So I want to talk about the Skinwalker Ranch because it is everything to do with what I've just talked about. So I'll put links in the description box below so you can check it all out yourself and have a think about what it is that I'm proposing, is the cause of all of this activity, because it is all linked. You don't have to believe anything I say. This is just my observation of it and my study of it, of what I think it is. And the reason why I'm doing all of this is because people are living in fear, because they take all of these things and they absorb it and believe it to be true, based on the evidence, based on what they're told, based on what they see, based on, things that are talked about on the internet and that. And then, it instills them with fear. And I'm trying to give people common sense, logical, reasonable answers using science and logic and doubt and reason, which is, the part of the psychological mind that is the healthy part of the mind. When you have a healthy mind, you always look to logic, doubt and reason first. And it's when we have the fear instilled in us that we doubt logic and we doubt reason, and we go to the darkest recesses of the psychological mind to look at the alternatives to logic, doubt and reason, which is like, anxiety, fear, paranoia, misunderstandings, accusations, um, you know, um, being illogical, going to the absurd rather than thinking, what things could logically be, because then the mind starts playing tricks and you start imagining all sorts of things. And, it's in the need for the human mind to understand what's going on in order to make sense of their surroundings, that, when you're fed things that where the things that don't make sense make more sense than the things that do make sense, that you're stepping into the boundaries of an unhealthy way of thinking, and that can lead the soul on a dark, spiraling path to, early destruction. Now, to understand all of this, I'll give you a brief rundown of the ranch and then the Schumann resonance, and explain what I think all of this is. So the Skinwalker Ranch is, the family moved into the ranch, had cattle, and they started experiencing all sorts of strange and weird phenomenon, like the wolf that was the extra large wolves that they kept seeing on the property that were killing their cattle. They were seeing portals and blue lights and orange lights and portals opening up and things climbing out of the portals and chasing them towards their ranch. Their dogs got killed in a they got lured into the forest by an orange light. He heard them yelping, and when he went to check on them the next day because he was too scared, he just found like lumps of ash where they had been like lasered, like obliterated by some sort of laser beam sort of thing, they said. No one in the house was sleeping. They were full of anxiety. They were losing their jobs. They were failing at school because they couldn't concentrate. Every time the blue light came near them, they were full of fear and anxiety. And they were failing. Their health was failing. They were having pockets of losing memory where they thought they were losing their mind, and then they would see these strange lights over their property, and then when they'd see these strange light, weird things would happen. They would see like these big portals opening up where they'd see things coming in and out of these portals. And in the end, with everything that was going on, they decided to sell the property, and it was bought by a billionaire who studies the science of the unexplained. Basically, they're a bunch of scientists who are skeptical, who come together and use their scientific knowledge and their medical knowledge and that to research the area, research the supernatural, the paranormal, the unexplained. And because of this ranch in Utah being where it is, the billionaire saw it as a perfect opportunity to buy this property and turn the property into its headquarters, but he kept the homeowner on, to manage the ranch. And then all sorts of weird and strange phenomena started happening, like his prize bulls were found in like a tiny locked up cabin thing in a hypnotic state, in like a trance like state, and they don't know how it got in there. The scientists were reading high magnetic frequency readouts on the property every time certain things were happening. They kept smelling a really horrible, like sort of like a iron, acidic, pungent smell every time they had certain activity that read high magnetic frequencies, and all this sort of stuff. So the interesting thing to know about this situation of this property in Utah is that it's in the Bermuda Triangle of, they call it the Bermuda Triangle of America, or the Bermuda Triangle of Utah, and that it's in the vicinity of where they had the Roswell incidents. There was an army base situated near this ranch. And that's always your first giveaway. Whenever you have these kind of phenomena, like if you go to my Instagram, I talk about the Mothman experiences, who I think the Mothman is, what I think the Mothman is. It's the exact same thing. Anytime you have any of this phenomena where there is an army base or any kind of military base, that always has to raise red flags. Now, they were testing a lot of weapons in the 90s that came out not long after I know they started using them in the Iraq War, with the invasion of Kuwait, like microwave weapons. They were working with sonic weapons. They were dealing with all that sort of stuff in development in the 90s, which they then started using in the noughties, and they use now sonic weapons and microwave weapons and that sort of thing. So testing that sort of stuff out on the cattle and the dogs isn't going to be no short thing. And I've always said that cattle mutilations were always to do with basically testing out military weaponry. So I'm going to put links in the description box below so you can see the triangle, but it's basically, you know, it's like the Bermuda Triangle of Utah. Basically, if you have a look, it's you know, high reports of UFO activity, and as we know, or as I know, as I say, when they want people to leave specific areas alone, the way they do it is by scaring the bejeebers out of them. So here comes the Schumann resonance. Now, a lot of hypnotherapists, people who are hypnotherapists, work with the Schumann resonance because it tricks the brain. And the Schumann resonance is basically the electromagnetic, they call it the heartbeat to Mother Earth, to Grandmother Earth, the heartbeat to Earth. But what it is, it's basically the electromagnetic frequency that exists between Earth and the ionosphere above Earth. And, you know, it does like it creates thunderstorms, you know, the weather machine. Kate Bush does a song about it. The weather machine that creates rain and thunderstorms and that sort of thing. That's all, you know, the Schumann resonance can do that as well. The Schumann resonance is the readout of frequencies between Earth and the atmosphere. Now, what you need to understand is not only do you use the Schumann resonance to help hypnotize people by using certain tones in your voice while you're, you know, distracting the mind with, you know, visual things. There are a lot of side effects, a lot of very dangerous side effects when you tweak the Schumann resonance. Everything from memory loss, which is what the family experienced, anxiety, sleeplessness, dizziness. It raises your blood pressure. It gives you insomnia. It makes you nauseous. Did I say dizziness? It tricks your memory, so you have false memories. It gives you hallucinations. So you can basically put the resonance on a certain frequency and then feed the mind illusions, and you will see what you're being told to see through the frequency. It's like, I think the Black Knight satellite is directly responsible for a lot of the stuff that goes on with people today, you know, through the airwaves, TV, internet, radio, that sort of thing, which is why we have such a rise in paranormal activity and such a rise in people suffering from depression, with you know, questioning themselves, questioning their minds, questioning who they are, because you start to doubt that you are who you are. You question the validity of who you are. Am I really this? Am I that? Do I know who I am? You know, that sort of thing. That's because of the Schumann resonance. When you mess and tweak the frequency, you can completely retrain the human brain to think in a completely different pattern to how it is instinctually and intuitively designed to think. So you can trick people into believing things that aren't real because that's how you know, because that's what you want them to think. A lot of narcissists and sociopaths and like hypnotherapists and that, like people who use word magic or use you know, the language that they speak, if they do it using certain words, using certain tones, usually very calm, very sort of monotoned, that sort of thing, it sends the brain to sleep, so then they can bring in the power of suggestion to tell you what to think and what to believe, and you will believe it 100%. So some of these frequencies, the Schumann resonance is mostly blue, but sometimes it wavers between blue and purple, blue and red, blue and orange. And these are some of the coloured lights that were seen on this ranch. So I believe that these people were used as a human experiment to be driven off this ranch because of the work that the military are doing with these kind of weapons that they would then bring out 5, 10, 15, 20 years later. The interesting thing that you need to understand with the Schumann resonance is that when they use it to interfere with the magnetic the electrostatic frequency of the atmosphere, it can create fighting, wars, famine. Crops will stop growing because it's playing with Grandmother Earth's magnetic frequency. So you'll get famines, droughts, because they can stop the thunderstorms. It creates floods because then they up the thunderstorms and up the rain. It can create like cancers, and it can make people like take to the streets and start doing stupid things like looting, like where they go on rages and rampages, and wars. When there is a low enough frequency, when you measure the Schumann resonance during certain times of unrest in civilization where there's war and fighting, and that it's always when the resonance is emitting at is it 30 or 35 hertz? I'll put a link in the description box below, but this is what I think all of this is. The Schumann resonance, people, it's a false god. People of certain spiritual beliefs and certain practices see it as this like frequency, and it's not. It's a false god. The Schumann resonance is the resonance for people who are trapped or living or accept the matrix as reality when it's not. It is lulling people into a false sense of security. Basically, the balanced mind, a healthy mind, an ascended mind can't be affected by the Schumann resonance. So people who aren't affected by the Schumann resonance, you know, they keep fit, they're healthy, they're balanced, they're emotionally stable, they're logical thinkers, you know, that sort of thing. And people who are susceptible to the Schumann resonance, you know, they join cults, they do black magic, they, you know, commit moral and unethical acts against, you know, individuals and humanity. They will do drugs, they will drink a lot of alcohol, they will eat, you know, unhealthy foods, they will lie, they will cheat, they will steal, they will be narcissistic, psychopathic, sociopathic. They will be violent, they will be angry, they will have, you know, severe bouts of depression and mania, bipolar symptoms, that sort of thing, schizophrenia, anxiety, paranoia, delusional, and, you know, rage, aggression, anger, um, to the point of, you know, ending lives, taking lives, hurting animals, hurting children, that sort of thing, and, you know, killing each other in wars, and that's the Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonance is not a good resonance. It is a resonance that is killing the planet, not saving the planet. It is the electrostatic magnetic frequency of Grandmother Earth, of Papatuanuku's pain as she is slowly dying. And then people like me, you know, your high priestesses, your gatekeepers, your light walkers, the ones who actually know what they're doing, the indigenous people who actually know what they're talking about, the ones that know how to heal the planet, are now having to come up and step up and say, this is what it is, this is what we need to do to fix it. And if we don't fix it, when she dies, we're all going to die as well. And, you know, if you look at paranormal activity over the last 20, 30 years, especially with the Skinwalker Ranch incident, you know, with the start of all of that, with the development of the weapons that they then started bringing out in Iraq and Afghanistan and that sort of thing, basically it's all just one big human experiment for weapons testing and learning to control the weather on the planet, to control the food, and to control people's minds so that things could go exactly the way they wanted it to go. However, there are a lot of scientists now who are starting to understand and embrace the God frequency, and with the understanding of things like DMT in the brain, like dimethyltryptamine in the brain when they take DMT, and they, because they did a huge test, a huge experiment a few years ago, where they took like neuroscientists and psychiatrists and people of science and medical degrees, and they gave them the DMT, and they all started experiencing the God frequency, and it created a whole new world for them that they then, a lot of them gave up their careers, their chosen careers in that, in order to focus solely on helping people have the DMT experience naturally, which is, how we started. When the planet started awakening, and the planet is starting to awaken, I promise you, people are starting to waken up to things like, Joe Biden and the disaster of his administration and all that sort of thing. People are starting to wake up, and it's because as more and more scientists started understanding the God frequency and wanting people to ascend. See, like last year, it has finally come out. It was all over the news, but very few people know anything about it. Um, they did a massive, a lot of these scientists and doctors and researchers and that have come out after doing a big study and said that antidepressants have zero effect on people, and that what they need to do is start getting people off antidepressants and remove them from the ability, like, just no doctor should be prescribing them. Don't even make them anymore, because they have zero effects, and that the doctors and hospitals and that need to start moving patients who are given antidepressants, introduce them to a healthier, more kind of spiritual lifestyle. And that's huge. And that's because, a lot of these scientists a few years ago started having these experiences when they had the spikes in DMT in their brain, which is, the cannabinoid receptors in the brain. All mammals have cannabinoid receptors in the brain, and it's the chemicals, the cannabinoid receptors that trigger the DMT that, releases, that opens up the pineal gland, that takes you to the God frequency. It raises your vibration and elevates your frequency, so you experience the God frequency. And a lot of them reported like being out in the universe and seeing, the vibrant colours of the universe, and hearing the most loving voice of God, and these were people from all religions and people who didn't believe at all. And when they all came out of the experience, they all felt that their lives had been changed, and that they had been touched by God and their ancestors, and their whole view on faith and who they thought God was, and that completely changed. And none of them ever went back to the way they were again, like they had ascensions. And so, that's what I am doing. I work with the atomic frequency with my biorhythmics. I work with biorhythmics, my biorhythmic field generator. That is all to, that completely removes the Schumann resonance from your biomagnetic sphere, from the ionosphere. It completely removes that, and removes paranormal activity, and removes psychological imbalances, and completely, I was going to say brings you back down to earth, but it grounds you so that you can then experience the true frequency, which is the atomic frequency, which is above the ionosphere and, into the realms of the supernatural. So that is what I believe the Skinwalker Ranch experience is. It is absolutely no fault of their own, of the ranch owners, in that what they were experiencing was 100. What they were experiencing, was 100% correct. I've actually only been awake an hour. It's just I started going back into the Skinwalker thing a couple of days ago, and it's been in the back of my mind ever since. And I listened to a little bit last night before I went to sleep, and then I woke up again and started listening to a little bit more, and then, started doing the research on it, and I thought, right, make the video. So I haven't actually fully woken up yet, which is why I'm, stumbling with my words and that, but I am an intuitive podcaster. I podcast when I'm told to, and, so I'm doing as I'm told. So I haven't had breakfast, I haven't gone to the bathroom, I haven't had my morning drink of water, I haven't done any of that yet, not had my coffee, none of it. So anyway, so that's what I think it is. In the family, everything they experienced was 100% correct, but none of it was extraterrestrial. None of it was anything out of this world. Because what you need to understand about, I hate calling them aliens, I really do. It's such an insult to such highly intelligent beings and life forms out there to call them aliens, because technically we're the aliens. But first of all, they don't use coloured lights. It is completely impractical and useless and pointless to use coloured lights. The hovering that they saw when they took off, the army was using drones back then. You know, a lot of the technology that we have nowadays, they've been using for 10, 20, 30 years. You know, so, you know, we didn't know they were drones back then, but of course they're drones. But yeah, so they don't use coloured lights. When the light that they do use, it turns turns night into day. It's so bright, it's like natural light. It's literally natural light, because a lot of the craft that they use, you know, they power up using the sun, using the UV rays from the sun. They use it to power their craft. And yes, I do believe in other life forms. They just don't exist in our solar system. They left our planets a long time ago, because they know that our solar system is dying. They're time jumpers in that they can see the future. They know what's coming. They were smart enough to stop fighting and stop killing each other and getting off their planet, which is what they're waiting for us to do. But they're not allowed to interfere with us. They are not allowed to interfere with us. They're, they're there as guidance and support, but they are not allowed to step foot anywhere near any of this, because they understand the importance of evolution needing to be untouched by man. Evolution can only exist in its purest form when it is biological and organic, meaning without interference. It has to happen on its own. So they don't touch us. They don't come anywhere near us. They observe, but they don't come near us. And their craft are organic, so they're not metallic. They're not, they look like pearls, like milky pearls, so that they can sit in amongst the clouds and all that sort of thing and observe. But they don't come near us, and they don't hurt people. They're not allowed to hurt people. They're not allowed to interfere with our evolution. So this isn't a conspiracy theory. I am not a conspiracy theorist at all. In fact, it is said that people who are conspiracy theorists, the more into the conspiracy theories they are, the more likely they are to suffer from severe bouts of depression. And this is just my observation, looking at the research, looking at the science. I listen to the stories, I listen to what is being told, and then I have a theory or suggestion. I look at scientific explanations for that suggestion, and when there is a correlation, that's when I link the two, and that's when I come up with my synopsis or my general idea of what I think it is, and then I let it build from there. So that is just my putting in my 2 cents, and the reason why I do it is because I don't want people to be afraid of the supernatural. If any of this stuff was real, it would be in the realms of the supernatural, but the supernatural isn't there to harm you. The supernatural is the realms of the gods and the ancestors and the pulse, the neuropathic pathways of the universe. It has been scientifically proven that the human mind, that the human brain is directly oh my God, Debbie, directly connected through a series of neuropathic pathways to the universe. I've put links, I've got posts in my Instagram where I talk about this a lot. where scientists have been able to prove that the human brain is connected to the universe through a series of it looks like, like neurons in the brain, but it's electromagnetic, it's electrostatic. It's like invisible electromagnetic umbilical cords that come off the human brain, the biometrics of the brain, I call it, and connected directly to the universe. So, if the universe that we know was in itself the human brain, we would be like the hypothalamus or the pineal gland. We would be one part of the human brain inside the skull of the universe. It's all connected. So, like, we as humans, we as animals, we as plants, through these invisible umbilical cords of electromagnetic static frequency, we are like tapped into the pulse of the universe. And it's a scientific fact. It's not crazy. The science is there, the research is there, they know we do it. So if we feel the universe feels us. And some people have come up with ways of being able to trick people into thinking what they want them to think for the purpose of mass control. That's the Matrix. That's exactly what the Matrix is. And so people like me and scientists all around the world are now trying to help people step outside of the matrix by speaking what we discover, speaking what we find. But me personally, I deal with the occult. So I help people understand the occult and the dangers of things like black magic and, hypnosis and mind control techniques that are used to make people believe something that is there that isn't, like ghosts and hauntings, and because of mass popular belief and mass hysteria and all that sort of thing. It spreads like wildfire, like Chinese whispers. And so my area of expertise is the paranormal, the supernatural, i.e. the occult. You have the good occult, you have the bad occult, and that is my area of expertise, and that's the only area I'm interested in. I have no interest in, getting into anything with any militaries or governments or anything like that. My sole purpose is helping people heal their minds and their bodies by tapping into the frequency that's going to save them, which is the God frequency or the atomic frequency. And so my science is quantum magnetics and biorhythmic engineering, because my biorhythmic field generator removes paranormal activity, removes anxiety, helps balance people's psychological minds so that they step into ascensions and save their souls, basically. Nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with any of that. I'm here just to save souls from themselves, and by giving them a hand and pulling them out of the matrix that they're trapped in through what they're told, what they listen to, what they read, what they see on the news, that sort of thing. And that's my sole purpose. So I'm not here to cause trouble for anyone. This isn't something that I'm going to be constantly going into. It's just that, I was raised as an army brat. I've been around the military my whole life. I kind of understand how this works, because my father worked on things in the background that I didn't even know that he'd worked on until long after he'd died, that I didn't think had anything to do with. He was a Royal Engineer in the New Zealand Army, and I didn't even know that Royal Engineers dabbled in the sort of things that my father dabbled in. And it wasn't until after he died I found out some of the things that he got involved in, and I was like, right, okay. There was more to my dad than met the eye, but it fascinated me. I just wish they wouldn't use it to hurt people and animals, because that's when the ancestors and karmic law comes in, and but like I said, this was in the 90s, and a lot of people are waking up now. A lot of people are starting to understand, the truth is starting to come out about certain wars that are going on, about certain leaders that are running certain countries, that sort of thing. People are wakening up, people are awakening, people are waking up, and it seems to be organic and natural, you know, and that's beautiful, and that's what evolution is. So that's my 2 cents. The family, the poor things, I wish I could sit down with them and explain what was happening to them, because I know the poor wife, she thought she was going nuts because she was doing something like when she put the groceries away, and then she went and had a shower and came out and the groceries were back in the bag, and she was utterly convinced she'd put the groceries away, but when she came back out they were still in the bag. And so, and that's the Schumann resonance. When you tweak the Schumann resonance, it tricks the mind. You can have like hallucinations and see things that aren't there with the naked eye, which is why you need to be careful if any of your tarot readers on YouTube and that have backgrounds in hypnotherapy. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Because I know from my own personal experience with my own personal journey, word magic, word trickery is what they tried to use on me. Um, you can call it covert narcissistic abuse, you can call it gaslighting, but gaslighting is a form of hypnosis. It's a form of using language and words to trick the mind into having experiences, into thinking things that aren't true, that when they make you doubt and question what you've experienced or what you've seen or what you know. That is dealing in the realms of the Schumann resonance. It's using words and frequencies and language and images and that in order to trick the mind into thinking something that goes against your own logic and your own intuition. And that's what I dealt with. And because the tarot reader I'm talking about is connected to, my ex-husband and everything, like they all worked together. She was teaching them all on what to do, that except because I'm in the atomic frequency and I'm ascended, it didn't work on me. I cottoned on to everything, which is why you see me, documenting all the evidence. Like I had the presence of mind anytime anything was happening, or anytime my intuition kicked in and my instincts forced my intuition to raise those red flags, I would hit record. And that's so all my videos that you see where I'm documenting experiences that happened to me with the cult that I have just had to deal with. That's why, is because I resonate at such a high frequency. I knew immediately what was going on, and so I hit record. I took screenshots, I documented everything, so that when I take all of this to court, I can say, but I've got the evidence to suggest otherwise. Okay, so it's all linked, because hypnosis, they use the Schumann resonance with hypnosis, and you'll notice the monotone voice. There's no elevation in voice, there's no like excited voice, it's very sort of keeping very still, using certain tones, that sort of thing. Anytime anyone speaks to you using certain tones where there's not raises in their voice, where they speak very purposefully, where they don't stutter and stammer like I'm doing at the moment because I'm still half asleep. Like, be very careful of people who use those kind of tones when they're trying to tell you what to do, what to think, what to feel, how to react to something, especially if it's going against your initial intuitive or instinctual reaction that something they've said or done was wrong, okay, or something you've experienced was wrong. So just, an open mind is a healthy mind, and a healthy mind is an enlightened one. So I'm just putting it out there. I'm going to have my coffee now and wake up properly and go to the bathroom because I'm busting. So I will speak to you later. I'll put links in the description box below. You can see all my evidence about how scientists have connected the human brain to the universe and all that on my Barefoot Warrior Woman Instagram. You can see all my evidence and that for my, my gang stalking. I hate going on about it now. I want to deal with it in court and be done with it once and for all. But yeah, so you can see all my evidence, it's all there. I'll put links in the description box below so you can look at the science and the facts yourself. Make up your own mind. I'm not here to force anyone to believe in anything. I'm not here for everyone. I'm here for the people that get me, and for the people that get me, what I do works. My sole purpose is to go out with my boys to these locations where there's been a lot of death and destruction and wars, battlefields, that sort of thing, and work with Papa Tuanuku, Grandmother Earth, work with her heartbeat, and the pulse of the universe through my biorhythmic field generator to alleviate the pain and suffering that she's had to absorb over the centuries of man being monumental screw-ups, and help heal her that way. Which is why I keep saying to people, don't have spiritual baths and don't go hugging trees. Like, just don't. The videos are there. I've explained why. Just don't. You're not helping her. You think you're helping yourself, but you're only making it 10 times worse. You don't know what you're talking about. These people don't know what the hell they're talking about. And it gets me really upset, which is why I had to put my life on the line. Per the request of God and the ancestors, I had to put my life on the line to put my stuff out there, knowing what it was going to do, because I feel my grandmother, I feel her, and it's painful for people like me to be living on a planet that is, it's like what we're doing is like putting salt on a slug in terms of what we're doing to our planet. We're the salt and she's the slug. And I can't, I can't. Indigenous people are not supposed to be allowing this stuff to happen. We were put here as guardians to the planet. We were put here to be voices of the solar system. We were here to be spokespersons for the universe. And everybody seems to be forgetting that. It's all about tourism, or, for the ones that aren't selling themselves for tourism and that. The others are fighting just to keep their blooming lands, from gas lines and addictions and depression and all that sort of thing, fighting for survival. And, like we've got to do something about it, because we're the last. Pardon the pun, we're the last of the Mohicans. Like, once the Indigenous people go, there's no one to speak for Papa Tuanuku. There's no, or Tafiti, or Gaia, whatever you want to call her, Mother Earth. There's no one to speak for her. It's all people pretending to have a connection to her because it makes them money, it makes them famous, it makes them popular, and they're doing more harm than good, because they're telling people to use crystals, they're telling people to sit under copper triangles, they're telling people to hug trees and have spiritual baths, and they're killing the planet faster and killing the people that that they think they're helping. They don't know what they're talking about. And so it is up to people like me to be brave and put what we know out there in order to raise awareness to what's going on, so that we can start working together to heal this planet, so that we can get off it. Because, it's expanding, but it's going to expand to a point where sustaining life on Earth is going to be an improbability as far as human life is concerned. We're supposed to be joining the ones in the sky. I call them our brethren. We're supposed to be joining our brethren. We're supposed to be in those little pearl crafts floating about, navigating, the universes beyond these ones, and helping the new universe evolve into something so far greater than anything we at this point in history could ever possibly begin to imagine. And it starts with people like me being brave enough to say, this is what this is. You can either listen to it and help heal yourself and step out of the matrix, or go down with the ship. So think of it as you will. So I'm going to go now and have my coffee, because I really am busting. And I will speak to you later. If you have any questions, I'll leave my email. If there's any subject matter you want me to talk about, I'm here. But otherwise, I'm happy to just do all of this, on my own. And wait till I get my boys and get justice and that, so we can go out and do these shows and start putting to right the wrongs of the misunderstanding of the Schumann resonance. So I will speak to you later. Ka kite anō.